Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Today we're doing a webinar on our sales trust accounting features and our financials features in Phoenix. So thank you all for joining me today. My name is Luke Parvett. I'm the CEO here at Phoenix. My background is in tech and in product development, and I've been in the CRM space, or the real estate CRM space, for about 11 years now. And I'm joined here by Trevor Bragg, our head of sales. Trevor has extensive experience across a number of different prop techs, as well as in real estate as well, working in CRM and marketing companies, and also in data companies as well. So industry veteran and well respected.
Hi everyone. Thanks, Luke.
Trevor. Just some housekeeping to get started. The webinar today will keep you for about 30 to 40 minutes. We are doing Q&A via Zoom at the end of the session. So if you do have any questions, you can pop them in the Zoom Q&A chat, and we'll get to them at the end of the session. We're also recording this session, so you don't need to be taking any notes. We'll send the recording by email after the session. So a question we often get, being a new real estate CRM, is what's different about you guys? What are you doing differently than all of the other CRMs? So we see these features that are in the yellow section here at the bottom as the core of a real estate CRM. So your contacts and properties, your accounting, productivity tools, automation, and analytics and reporting. And today, obviously, we're going to be having a look at the accounting, but we view this as the core, and all the real estate CRMs have various degrees of these functions. So what do we do different? These are our 3 pillars of innovation, things that we're doing that we're not seeing done as well. And the first is our consumer experience portal. So basically, whether it's an owner, whether it's a buyer, whether it's a vendor, whatever the case may be, we're building portals for the different workflows that your consumers are going through to bring it up to speed with what people expect from modern companies in this day and age, and what they're receiving from the other kind of parts of their lives. We're also going heavily in on AI. So already we've got Phoebe, our AI assistant, in the platform, doing things like writing emails, writing blog posts, writing listing descriptions, analyzing data, making suggestions, and doing all that sort of stuff. And there's lots of also lots more stuff that we're doing with Phoebe as well. And our goal is Phoebe will essentially follow you around the software, just giving you recommendations and summarizing things and making your life easier as you're using the CRM. And then the third and probably biggest part that we're really excited about is our workflow platform. So the workflow platform takes automation to the next level. All CRMs have some level of automation, but we're really diving deep on that, going beyond just automation into business rules, business logic, data manipulation, the sort of stuff that you can expect from a real kind of deep workflow engine. So we're doing that as well. And that's I guess, our core points of difference. So, but today we're looking at the sales trust. And before I hand over to Trev to show us what we've built with the sales trust, we want to talk a little bit about our approach when building the sales trust module. So essentially, when we're building anything, we want to keep it as simple as possible. We want to make it modern. We want to make it fresh. We want to make it fun for people to use. So that's, I guess, our guiding principle when we're designing everything. Secondly, we go for power. So we look at all the different workflows that people have, and we make sure that we're covering those in a deep way. And thirdly, we know that agencies all work in different ways. Everyone's unique in their own little way. And so we try and build the software very flexible as well, so that you can achieve whatever you're looking to achieve with the software. So I think that's enough about the background, but I'll hand over to you, Trev, to run us through it.
Thanks, Luke. So I'll just turn my screen on, and Luke, if you can tell me if people can see my screen now. Excellent. So thank you for that introduction, Luke, and thank you everyone for joining us today. We're really excited to be sharing with you our sales trust workflow and also the financial workflow from within Phoenix software. And the first point I'd like to make about running any type of software, and in particular your sales trust and your financials out of the CRM, is that it's really important that we set it up correctly and that we have all the data that we require for the reporting to be pre-entered into the software. So I might touch on that initially before we start to dive into some of the more financial aspects of the software. So what you're looking at here is our user interface, and up the top right hand corner, and we will go through this with any clients that come on with us, but there's some areas that you really need to ensure that the information's been entered correctly. So initially we have your account settings, and this by default will be set up by us, but it's always worthwhile to just check the information that's in here. With that as well, there's also the areas for branding. So when we're putting together tax invoices or sales advices and things like that, it's important that our brand is carried across into those documents. So once again, we want to ensure that we have the correct company name for the business, correct ABN. We'll upload your logo, but at any time we can modify that logo as well. So if you do a brand change or anything like that, it's very easy to be able to come in and update that information. Once again, just ensuring that the correct contact numbers and address details are entered into the branding component here. And down the bottom, we've also got an area for default invoice notes. So for any invoice that you're creating, you might, like here, want to put your bank details or some payment instructions. You can save that in here, so that will occur every time you create an invoice. Moving on, it's important to have preset email templates ready, especially around the contract process and for things like sending out deposit receipts and so forth to purchases. So we will provide these templates to you, but once again, and as we mentioned, one of our goals is to make the software flexible enough for you to make it personalized to the way you run your business. You will have the opportunity to come in here and modify that template. So if you want to change the messaging, you're more than welcome to do that. Just be mindful of some of the merge fields that we've put in there for you with those templates. So there's a lot of templates around the contract side of things as well as the sales side. Moving forward, in the commission area, you do have the ability to update your commission categories as well. So in this example here, we've got a situation where we've been able to allow for 3 different types of selling methods. If I'm an agent, I could be a lister, I could be a selling agent, or I could be both. So we're able to modify or add these in, use these later on, but if you ever wanted to edit those, you're more than welcome. And same with your deductions as well. So in the commission, if you need to account for any deductions, you have the ability to come in here and create those deductions. And finally, in the system settings, setting up your general account. It's really important that you get paid for all the good work that you're doing. So we need to be able to set up our general bank details with our BSB and account number, and that information will flow through later on when we're doing our disbursements to the agency. So that's in the system settings. Before we move on, we'll look at the trust account as well. So with the trust account, it's very simple to be able to create your trust account. You might have to have a little bit of information of your existing trust account ready to set this up, but it's just filling in the form really. So who is the officer and effective control, their license number, the address details of the business, your opening date and your next receipt number, as well as your next payment number, your next ledger number. So having that information ready will be really important in setting up the trust account properly. And then you've got the trust account bank details as well. So the name, BSB account number, and if you have any ABA file information, you can enter that here as well. Once you've set up your trust account, you'll see it listed here, and you'll have the ability to go through to the other areas of the trust account. The next area you might want to consider setting up is your advertising. And with the advertising, there's three areas. So the first area is your suppliers. Now, you're obviously dealing with certain suppliers, providing, online advertising or print media or signboards and things like that. So it's really quite easy to set up those suppliers within the software. You just enter their name and their bank details, and you can have them listed here. Once they're listed, they might be offering various products, and you could go and start to add in all of those, what we call items. For example, REA might have a few different offerings for their service, and you might want to enter those in as well. But all the normal items that you're offering your clients should be entered in here. And I'll just edit this one. Very easy to edit. You just give it a name. You put in the amount, either excluding or including GST, and the tax that might be applicable. Once you have your items, you can then start putting together packages. So you might offer something similar to this, where you have a gold, silver, and bronze pack. And it's really just a matter of adding in the various items you want to include into those packs. So again, give the pack a name, put a brief description, and you can see I'm able to access all of those items that I've previously created in this area here, and it will add the amounts and the GST method for each of those. And you can put your packs together. So once you've set all that up, you're almost right to go. The other area I really want to emphasize that's important when you're doing your financials and your sales trusts is making sure that all the contact information is up to date. And there should be no reason why it can't be, because especially when you're adding in your potential vendors, people you might have done appraisals for, you will have this information. You will have their email address. You'll have their mobile number. You should be able to get their mailing address as well. And it's this information that makes it easier for you to complete the workflow and generate the reports and the information required for the solicitors. So by having that entered initially is really important. Any related contacts, so if there are multiple purchases or multiple vendors on a property, adding those in at the beginning is really helpful as well. And the other point I'd make is also any solicitors or conveyancers. Having their information pre-entered, ready to go, will make it easier for you down the track. So that's enough of the setup discussion. And if we think about our financials and where that conversation starts, it's normally at the appraisal stage. So if you're going out to do appraisals with people, ideally you'd be entering those appraisals into the software, and we're able to account for, appraisals won and lost and all of them as well. But it's the starting point of us eventually listing a property, selling a property, and getting paid our commission. So if we were to enter an appraisal, and we're capturing information, the data was done. You might be recording what the vendor's expecting for an asking price. You might put in your estimated selling price as well. But you'll also, as I said, you'll identify who the owner is. You might find out who their solicitor is, and you can add that in there at that point. But then we start our discussion around financials. And this is where you might be talking to this person about the type of advertising you're going to offer them. So remembering what we just did as part of our advertising setup, you can come into this area here and you can go and add individual advertising items for this potential seller. Or you could load in a whole package. So if I want to offer the gold pack, it's going to automatically pull through all those items that are in my gold pack for $3,400. What I need to do here now, however, is I need to set a budget. And it might be a case that it's $3,400 and the client's going to pay the budgeted amount or the amount spent. So we have a zero budget remaining, and that's fine. So we've added that in there now. And the next thing you might discuss with your potential seller is your commission rate. So again, we're very conscious of being flexible in this area. You could add in a percentage. So if you do that, you just need to highlight the percentage button, or it could be a fixed fee, a flat fee, and you can save it. So once you save that information, that will carry across into the contract stage. Now, this is not set in stone. We can always amend that later on in the process as well. So all going well, our prospective seller says, yes, we're right to go. Let's get this listing on the market. So what we'll do is we will list this appraisal at this point, and we're going to create a listing. So now in our software, we've moved from the appraisal stage into the listing area, and eventually we'll move into the contract stage as well. So in this part here, you can see that the listing has carried across the owner's legal name, which we entered previously. We've got the contact, we've got the vendor solicitor as well, preloaded, ready to go, which is fantastic. This is where you would normally be adding in the features of the property, the headline and description, all the photos, the inspections, uploading the documents. That's probably a discussion for another day. We won't be going through that today, but what we want to do is get to that point of looking at how we handle the transactions and the financials. So what we'll do at this point is we are going to add an offer on this property. So when we add an offer, what we need to do is identify who the purchaser is. Now I'm going to add Adrian Harris as my purchaser. We have our listing that's automatically carried through. When was this offer made, and the time and the amount. So luckily for this vendor here, we're getting a full price, $2 million, and it might be a first and final offer. So you can make a little note here for that. So we save that offer. That offer is recorded in our timeline, and that's something that will happen no matter what you do on the listing. Everything will be recorded in this timeline feed here. Because it's an offer, we need to update the status of the property. So I'll change the status to under offer at this point. And what we're going to do is create a contract for this property now. And the good part of this is we can actually pre-fill from the offer we've just recorded. So the offer from Adrian for $2 million, we're going to pre-fill. It automatically assigns Adrian as the purchaser. We just need to find out who Adrian's solicitor is, and it might be Anna Lawyer. And we've got our sale price. It's automatically recorded Adrian Harris as the legal name, but if it was a company or you need to put in another party, you could do so at that point there. So $2 million sale price, we might get an initial $20,000 from Adrian as the initial deposit. The total deposit might be 10%, $200,000. We don't need to account for the financing, but if you know that amount, you can put that in. When was it issued? Might have been executed on the same day. We know that it goes conditional in maybe a couple of weeks' time, and settlement might be in about 6 weeks' time from that point, from today. Moving on, there is an area for you to record notes, and you can also add in some conditions. So we have made it flexible enough where you can add your own conditions if you want to, or you can rely on the defaults that we've got here. So the most common is your pest and building report, and that might happen on the 31st of this month. So I'm going to save this contract now. And we're in the contract section of the listing, and you'll see that the numbers have been recorded on the left-hand side. We've got our conditions in the middle, and as these dates come up and those conditions are met, we can mark them off as being complete. And we've got our related parties all along here. So you can see purchaser, purchaser solicitor, and down the bottom, we've got a property history as well. And that's consistent throughout all parts of the CRM. So because we've added all this information, we're now in a position to generate our sales advice. So that sales advice can be downloaded, can also be emailed to the vendor solicitor if you like. So I'll just show you what this looks like. It's downloading, and there's our sales advice. So you can see how it's pulled through the branding components that we set up initially. It's pulled through all the sale details into this area here. We've got our vendor solicitor's details, our purchaser's details, and their solicitor's details. So you can see why it's really helpful. If you add that information right at the beginning, everything is pre-filled on the form, ready for it to be sent. So moving forward, we've sent off the sales advice. We need to receipt the initial deposit that we received from Adrian for that money. So we go to our deposit tab. And what we need to do in the sales trust is create a ledger for Darren Dean. So you'll see that the system's automatically pulled through the legal name for the person or the vendor. We've got our trust account. It applies the next ledger number, pulls through his contact details, mailing details. We just need to add the bank details, BSB, which needs to be 6 numbers, and the account number. So we've now saved that ledger account. And we're now ready to start taking our deposit and issuing a receipt. So the first deposit was that $20,000, the initial deposit. So if we receipt deposit, and we'll do it today. So the ledger is for Darren. It was received from Adrian. It's a bank transfer for 13 Thorn Street. The deposit, you could put initial in there if you wanted to, and I'll just modify this to make it $20,000 and I'll click save. So it's now recorded that transaction with its own ID. And if I wanted to see the receipt, I can click receipt, and there's our trust account receipt here. We can email the receipt, we can download the original or download the agency copy as well. If I email this receipt, what it's going to do is load our email composer, which is here. It will automatically attach that receipt to that email. And like I mentioned earlier in our system setup, if I have a template for sending deposit receipts, I can quickly preload that with all the merge fields ready, and I can just send that straight away to my purchaser. If we go back to the transaction screen, you'll see that the system has automatically accounted for that $20,000. So we've got our $180,000 left. That is the balance of that deposit, $200,000. So let's pretend the property's gone unconditional and we're ready to receipt that money. So same process, same as before. It's just that the system now knows that we're expecting $180,000 as the balance of the deposit for that property. And we just repeat that process. So now you can see that transaction has been added here down the bottom, and we will go through sending that receipt off to that purchaser as well. So there's nothing owing. The next step is to go to our commission. As I said earlier, you can record the commission, and the system has automatically worked out that we're getting $40,000 ex GST, 44 inclusive of GST. But there might be some expenses that we didn't account for initially. So there might have been, for example, a referral expense. And if there was, we can go about adding that. And the referral could have been from a solicitor or someone else, and you want to account for that. So it might have been 10% of that figure, and it's GST applicable, and it's paid on settlement. However, if you've come to an arrangement where it might be paid on unconditional or acceptance or a custom date, you're more than welcome to update that information. So you can see here it's taken out the $4,000 from the gross commission. Moving down, there are areas for other expenses as well. And then we can get into our agent allocations. So to allocate some of this commission to the agent, we just need to go and select our agent. We're using ARIA in this example, and ARIA is both the listing and selling agent. So we're going to nominate that option. And in our office, we pay our agents commissions after referrals and expenses. So it's not the gross, it's coming off any other referrals or expenses that have been accounted for. Now, in our example, ARIA is on a 50% commission allocation for being both the listing and selling agent, and he gets 100% of that. And in our office, we pay our agents on settlement, but once again, you can nominate a different date and time for that payout of that commission. And I'll save that allocation. So you can see that it's now accounted for that. There's $18,000 going to the agent. Now with your agents, you might also have to deduct some money from the commission for them. You might have a situation where you have an agent who's paying a desk fee, or there might be some sort of fee to process trust transactions. It's entirely up to you. You can add those deductions in here and they'll come off that commission. But moving on, we've got our summary. So we can see the total commission minus the referrals, and that's our commission minus referrals. And we've got the distributable commission to the agent and to the office down the bottom. Nice and simple. If we're happy with all that, then it's time for us to start finalizing the sale. And we come over to finalize sale. And what you'll see here are the two line items for where we're owed money. One is the advertising, the $3,400 ex GST, our $40,000 commission, and then the total. So we're going to take this money that's owed to us from the deposit that we're holding in our trust account. and we can see the amounts including GST. So all I need to do is click Finalize Amounts and create invoice, and the system will do that automatically for you. So we've got green up here. Green is good, ready to go. The next part of it is our trust transaction. So this is the money that's owed to the office. So what we're going to do is create a payment to the agency, and a lot of this is just pre-filled for you. So we have today's date. It's a disbursement to the agency. It's already pulled through the invoice that it's appropriate for. It's coming from that ledger account. It's paid to the agency. It's a bank transfer. And this is why it's important we pre-enter our general bank account details right at the beginning so we don't have to re-enter this information. Then you can put in a reference. I might just put the street name as the reference, the reason, disbursement to agency, and I click save for the 47,740. The next payment we need to make is to our vendor or the vendor's solicitor. So the system has already worked out that it's 152,260, and we'll pay it to the vendor directly. So once again, similar to what we just went through with the disbursement to the agency, it's going to our vendor. Now, if we have the vendor's bank details, we can record that. Just for simplicity's sake, we're going to write a check, and I'm just going to put in the check number, Thorn Street again, disbursement to the vendor for 152,260. So now we've got two green areas, which is great because everything has been paid. Now the next step is for us to download our account sale, and we can send that to the vendor solicitor and the vendor. While that's downloading, we can also email this account sale directly to our vendor solicitor and our vendor, very similar to how I showed you the receipt is emailed. It will load the email composer and you can send that out. So this is our account sale listing, obviously your company, the listing summary, including the deposit, sold price, the vendor and purchaser. Here's a breakdown of the expenses, X and the GST, and then including the GST. These are the disbursements that we've made out of that trust account. This is the tax invoice for the vendor, showing the commission component and the advertising component, and we've got the summary for the GST. You'll notice here that it says amount due, 0, because we deducted that from the deposit that we were holding in our trust account. It's already been paid to our office. And we also have a summary of the ledger transactions for that vendor. So now that that's done, what we can do is reconcile our trust account. So for us to be able to do that, we need to then jump from the financials into our trust account. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go into our trust account. And the choice is yours from this point. You can, for ease of use, upload your bank statement. I think it's an OFX file that you will need to upload to be able to reconcile. If you want to manually enter the transactions from your statement, you can do that as well. And you might do that on a monthly or even a daily basis. It's entirely up to you. So if you are going to do it manually, you just need to create a statement, and I'm just doing today's date. And then I need to add those transactions that have just occurred. So if we were to enter today's date, I believe there was a credit for the initial deposit for $20,000. And I might just make a little note for myself, it's the initial deposit. Then there was another deposit on today for $180,000, which was the balance of the deposit. And then we had a couple of payments, a couple of debits from the trust account, and they were the disbursements. So I think one was for us, our commission being $47,740, and I'll just put agency, and I'll create that transaction. And then we had our disbursement to the vendor. So again, a debit, I think it was 152,260, and I'll just make a note that it went to the vendor, and I'll create that transaction. So now we've entered our bank transactions. And now what we're able to do is go through the reconciliation process. So if we go to reconcile, what you'll notice is that the system has picked up the transactions from the statement. So either having them manually entered, or if you uploaded your bank statement, they'll appear on this side here. And the system has automatically matched them with the trust transactions that we went through as part of that contract process. And all we need to do is just match them and click OK. So this is the disbursement to the agency for the commission. That was the balance of the deposit from Adrian. And then that was the initial deposit. Now, there might be an occasion where you will be missing a transaction. So what we have here is match with another transaction. And this will show you other transactions, and you might be able to find that transaction. And if you do, and it's the correct amount, it will allow you to click the save button. Now we're fully reconciled for our trust account for that period. The next step is to then go to our reports. Now, with our reports, prior to producing the reports, you would just simply come and enter your bank balance, and then you would go about downloading those reports. And the reports that will be downloaded are your cash payments journal, cash receipts journal, ledger summary, individual ledgers, reconciliation statement, and reconciliation summary. So these reports will be downloaded, you'll print them off, you will sign where indicated on those reports and put them in the file ready for the auditor. So while we're waiting for this to come down, I think a lot of people might have some questions. Just a reminder to pop those questions into the Zoom Q&A section. And I'll just load this up for you. We won't go through this report. It is 19 pages long, so we'll just give you a quick snapshot. But if anyone would like to see a copy of this, please let us know, and we'll send you a copy of this example report. So moving on, there was just one other area I wanted to touch on, and that was our invoices. So as you saw, a lot of the invoices that we're creating for our vendors are automatically created as part of that contract process. However, if you wanted to, you can create invoices on the go as well. So it's very simple to be able to create an invoice. You can search for the person that's going to receive the invoice. It'll automatically issue the next receipt number, and then you can save that invoice. All invoices are available on this screen as well, and you can see the summary with who they're to, if it's in relation to a listing, the amount, how much is due, how much has been paid, and so forth. If you ever need to come back and find an invoice and maybe send it off to someone, once again, you can click on View. You could email that invoice out. You could download it. If it's an invoice that hasn't been paid as yet, you could edit the invoice or even void the invoice, and you can record payments against these invoices as well. So that's the invoicing section. I think that's all from me, Luke. But once again, I hope that explains how we look at our financials and our sales trust process within Phoenix Software. And we look forward to your questions.
Cool. So thanks for that, Trev. So we do have a couple of questions that have come in here. The first one is, what is the setup process? So I might take that one.
Yep.
So essentially, if you're transferring from another trust accounting system, what we need to do is we pick the start of a month as a go live date. We bring in all your balances as at the end of that month. And then starting from the start of the new month, you would use Phoenix for your trust accounting. We do a training session to go through everything that you've seen and to answer any questions and go through everything. And then at the end of the month, we do a training session on the reconciliation process as well. We help you out with that first reconciliation process. So that's the setup process. The next question is it compliant? The answer to that is yes. So we've built this to the legislation of the different states. And, you know, if you're in Brisbane, for example, it's slightly different, you know, wording on the receipts and things like that. So we've done all that. We've got a question here. We do projects and our office pays out part commission on contract exchange and part on settlement. Can your system handle this? Yes, it can. So when you're in the contract and you're putting in the commission, what you can do there is when you're putting in any of these things actually. So whether it's an agent allocation or expense or whatever it is, you can select what date that payment is due to be paid for. So we can see that this one, you could set it on settlement, or you can set it on acceptance, or you can put in a custom date. So there's that flexibility there for project marketers.
And you would just repeat that process and maybe have a different percentage commission, maybe on the settlement date as well.
Yeah. Cool. And we've got one more question here. What is the price for the Sales Trust module? So Sales Trust is included within the software. So I don't know, Trev, do you want to talk to that?
Yeah. So Sales Trust is included, and the cost would really depend on the number of users that you're wanting for your office. So we do have a couple of plans for that. To give you a ballpark, if you're a smaller office, you're looking, if you have a couple of users, $160 per month plus GST. If you're a larger office of around 5 users, you're looking at around $240 a month plus GST. If you have a larger office, we can give you a quote based on that. But everything you saw today was included in our standard CRM subscription.
Great, thanks, Trev. So that's all of the questions. I want to thank everyone for coming today, and look forward to speaking to you all soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.